All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. So I'm gonna go find some beaver stick wacker smackers. Yes, say that 10 times fast. You're coming for you, brother. All right, so Mad Trapper it is. Mad Trapper it does. Brother. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna get out of here because the light is fading fast, and I got stuff to do. Don't you dare put snow down my back. This little guy. That's right. And that guy. So I already got snow down my back a couple of times already today. Now how the hell do they get out of here again? I can never figure out the easy way out. Everybody else does. The animals do. Uncle does. But anyway, okay. Masculinity and trapping. Okay, if you're killing furry little animals, you're just compensating for something. No good. Not what I'm looking for. That tip I always give out: never touch the treetops, especially around this dead stuff. Never touch the trees when you're going by them if you can help it. Just because if you shake a treetop, these are treetops, a lot of them. So that should answer your question why you don't do it. Most of it comes down the wind, but what about you? Could you be the one I'm looking for? Okay, masculinity and trapping. Okay, a lot of people misunderstand trapping and what it is and what it's about and all that stuff. And I'd say I'd do that out there, but I just don't think I can get there without. The thing about the masculinity thing is, yes, you're going to need a certain amount of testosterone to do this. Always cut away from it if you can help it. Like when you're out of chainsaw, you always keep the blade, if it's going to kick, that goes behind you and it doesn't hit you. No good. Thought it was better than that. There's good. We live in a world where video games is the only thing young men, and porn is the only thing that young men care about. And I know that most young men, even the most pansy of young men, would love a day out on the trap line if they were psyched out for it, you know, and encouraged to do stuff like this. They might even start doing it by themselves, naturally. Note to self, don't use your good gloves. Bring your work gloves when you're doing stuff like this, or you won't have good gloves. There's this bushcraft guy. I don't know if he's in Germany, Norway, whatever. But he was talking about, you know, like how feminized, you know, our boys are nowadays, and that's not good. Like, there's no advantage to feminizing boys. Yes, you have to be in touch with your feelings to be honest, and not bottle things up, and, you know, just to be a sane, rational human being. No one's gonna diss that at all. Like, everybody's gonna understand that, right? But does that mean you have to be sensitive about everything? No, there is no romanticism in being wimpy, weak. There is no vulnerable and in need of help is not the same as priding yourself on nihilism, weakness, and no fortitude to do anything, and helplessness, learned helplessness. It doesn't work for most people. Everybody has their moments and their doubts and their struggles, whatever. I get it, you get it. But are you learning from your struggles? Such as this stick. This stick died for something more noble than you could imagine. One of 20 that I gotta find. And to be able to have just the instant recognition of what that is takes confidence. You'd say it's a freaking stick, it's a pole. What are you going to do with it? Well, it's obviously too big for that, but it's going to be used for another set. But what would give me confidence to do that? Exploration. I have no idea if that's a truck or a snowmobile. Either way, it sounded cool. Sounds like he's going to be in the ditch in about 5 minutes. Going like a maniac. What a numbnut. So healthy masculinity. Healthy masculinity is going to allow you to sleep easy at night. It's going to allow you to feel no fear. Something, again, I used to be a huge fan of, well, I guess I still am, but although I don't follow it as much as I did when I was younger, but like Bruce Lee quotes. I love Bruce Lee quotes. You can look at it as if you're in a room full of enemies and say, hey, I'm stuck in here with all these guys. Or you could say, hey, these guys are all stuck in here with me. You know what I mean? That is a total different fortitude. Even if it's an unrealistic fortitude that, you know, you're about to die by, you know, 20 guys pounding the crap out of you. It's the idea that you're doing it with no fear. Spite, tenacity, masculinity, healthiness, sound of mind, confidence, belief in oneself. This goes on. So how does that translate in trapping? Well, I mean, you saw, if you watched the previous videos, like just going finding the ice. Like, I'm not a big fan of walking out on ice in early December. And then you got those guys that go out ice fishing in like October. End of October. There's like 2 millimeters of ice. It'll hold the pickup truck, I'm sure. You know, there is a fine line between bravery and stupidity. I will admit, and I have crossed those lines many times. But I've also learned, reality being the good teacher that it is also kind of gives you the idea not to make the same mistakes and move on from the mistakes. And you can't do that when you have nobody, you know, mentoring you. And I've always been lucky that I grew up with my philosophy of family, nation, future, even though I've only, you know, recently coined it in like a decade or so. Watch my fingers. But I've also kind of looked at it as I had great men in my life, like my grandfather, obviously my dad, my uncles, good friends. And my goal in life was always to make life easier. First off, just so you know, my new philosophy of making life easier, this ain't it. This is not hard to do, but it's definitely challenging. But you start to explore things. You start to find out things about yourself. Reliance, self-reliance tells you that this stick will be good for trapping. Non-self-reliance is you'll be grasping at straws and you won't even know what to look for. You know, it's a dead stick, but it's still plenty strong. It's worried for weather. You know, it's got some badges and bruises on it. And you would think it's just a write-off, like a lot of young men. But it's not. It still has a use. It still has a purpose. That's the purpose right there. So don't write yourself off. You might still have use left in you. You know what I mean? And you can learn that in a philosophy of trapping. Imagine that. Could you imagine that? That's 2. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night. I think this battery's going to die before I can get through everything. But I really do want to give guys a sense and a dose of reality with the concept of there's a lot of NFG in here too, so you got to be able to decipher the two. But the reality is kind of like, how do you get confidence? Well, you get confidence by being and doing and accepting, right? And sorry, I just want to get in here safely. There you go. By learning how to do things by yourself, for yourself. The reason why I'm tapping is to see if it just breaks. If it just breaks, then it's no good. These will break fairly easy, but every one of them after this is going to have to get a little bit bigger. But this would come pretty much partly. That's 3. You'll see what I'm doing with these things in a later video. You're going to like it. It's going to be very cool. But the thing is that I want guys to believe in themselves. I always pick on the MGTOW guys and stuff like that because I don't agree with their philosophy of just stepping away from the world, watching it burn. It doesn't do them any good. They end up suicidal. They end up doing all these things. And I'm watching these other guys. They're starting to take to the bush and do stuff like this for perspective. But as long as they're getting a perspective that just stepping away from everything isn't always the answer. Meditation isn't always the answer. Doing isn't always the answer. It's all a combination of learning how to do skills. And I've always said, and I heard this saying a long time ago from this old guy, probably about 75, 80 years old, that does permaculture: the more you know, the less you need. Well, the more you know and the less you need also means the less you panic when things are down, because you have self-reliance. Self-reliance builds confidence. Confidence, well, you know, it just goes and it goes and it goes, right? Again, it's getting a bit dark in here. That one's a bit big, but it's a good one. Yeah. This one's gonna be heavy to bring home. Watch my. So when I'm doing these trapping things, I know YouTube, the last thing they want you to do is talk politics or anything that mentions anything other than men being toxic. Number one, you're not toxic. Do you have good behavior or bad? You could be an asshole, still not be toxic. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. It doesn't exist. There's good behavior, there's bad behavior. That's simple. Just be a good person. You know, don't be a weak person. Don't be a cuck person. Be an honest person. And do what's good. You know, do what's good for your life. Do what's good for the balance of nature. Do what's good for your friends, your family. Do something for more than just yourself. You know. Well, it's a start. It's a slow start, but it's a start. I think this is the one I'm gonna like the most, because I get